Hello, everybody, and most welcome to this other talk, a new talk in the series of Let's Talk About Courage, Authenticity, and Femininity. It's like the 11th or 12th interview conversation I'm gonna have with a beautiful guest. And this is honestly not just another talk in the series. It is, for me, the talk in this series. And the guest I'm having, and I'm most probably gonna cry because I owe this woman so much. And when it comes to my spiritual path, and when it comes to my path as a woman, and I'm infinitely grateful and infinitely happy that Chameli Ardagh is here tonight. So just a few words, and I'm not gonna make a love story out of it, even though I'm very much in love with her and her work. Chameli is the founder of Awakening Women, which is an organization that teaches, in my words, embodied spiritual goddess power, so to say, how to walk your path as a devotee to the goddess, to the great spirit, however you want to call it, in a female body on this planet. And Chameli has inspired many women to sit in circle and to explore that inner knowledge, that inner voice, that path that guides us all the way through. And I'm just gonna stop talking and just gonna invite her in to have as much time with her. So, hi Chameli, let's see if I can invite you in. Yes, here we go. It should be working. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Here she is.
Hey.
Hi, beloved Chameli. I think you heard my introduction, and
I'm honored.
yeah, now I'm very honored to have you here, and it's so good to see you after such a long time. So
yes, I love the painting behind you.
Thank you. It is done by a beautiful French artist. Her name is Caroline Manier, and it is really supporting our work.
Yes.
All right, Chameli, I was sitting back today and just pondering a little bit about what I would like to ask you, or really would love to have you speak about. And it's actually quite a simple question I would like to start with. And from where you're standing right now, after all the years on the path, after all your experience, all the teachings, what would you say is key for a woman to walk this path, like embodied on this earth in an authentic way? I mean, it's a big question, but what would you say from where you're at right now? What is key for it?
It's 3 keys.
Okay.
It's 3 keys. It's awareness,
Mm-hmm.
it's compassion, and it's boundaries. And they go together. there's this beautiful map from the Buddhist tradition where we have Prajna Paramita, the goddess of wisdom, who is this very spacious goddess that mirrors to us our consciousness, our awareness, a sense of self that is bigger than the personal thoughts and feelings and sensations that comes and goes in our awareness. So to cultivate a connection to Prajna Paramita within us allows us to have that kind of space around our experiences that gives us more choice. It gives us the possibility to see our actions and kind of recognize which ones are appropriate for the situation and which ones are, you know, patterns we carry with us from the past that we bring into this moment. So awareness is key. And to cultivate awareness, it's something that somehow it's kind of been hijacked of more masculine paths. It's like many women, we come from paths where we have been sitting in Vipassana, we've been meditating a lot, and then we come to the woman's circle and the woman's path, and we're like, I just want to be in my feelings, in my body, and which is natural to kind of bring balance. But it's also important to not throw out that piece, because without awareness to cultivate connection with body and feelings, we're just going to be so identified with the appearances in our bodies and feelings that you know, we end up in a kind of we end up trapped in these kind of dynamics that feels life-threatening almost, you know, when we are in relationships and people threaten our identities. We think that we are dying. But once we have roots and a bigger awareness, we can see that, this is just the role I'm playing. This is just the belief I've been taught. And to actually unglue ourselves from it is not, it's a kind of death, but it is a death that brings us to real life and real connection. Then Prajna Paramita also takes form as the Tara, goddess Tara, and we have the white Tara, goddess of compassion, goddess of unconditional love, that kind of mother, divine mother quality. And then green Tara, the goddess of protection, of boundaries, of courage. And when we bring awareness to the kind of structure of our personality, we will inevitably find parts of ourselves that we have rejected for good reasons, that maybe were not affirmed, or they didn't fit in, and people around us said we had, that's not nice, you have to be a nice girl, you can't be angry. And the more awareness we cultivate, the more of these parts are welcomed up. It's like awareness is like a spotlight where we become very honest with ourselves. And in meeting these parts, to have cultivated white Tara, compassion, gentleness, self-love is essential, because if not, we are just going to run the kind of internalized criticism and judgment towards these parts, and we're going to end up in this kind of impasse where we just constantly try to achieve the nice, beautiful spiritual experiences, and then these other parts just come, chasing us. Everything in the world just wants to be seen, acknowledged, heard, and held in that space of the white Tara. It's in one way, Prajna Paramita and white Tara, this kind of energies are always here. And our spiritual practice is to unclench, to unfreeze all the places we are blocking this love coming through. And once we have, enough practice in our body to kind of, to connect with the breath, we have practiced that for a longer time. When these parts come up, we can recognize all the parts of us that just wants to run away, and we breathe through, and we stay, and there's actually nothing you have to do. Love heals. Love is what does all the work. Our spiritual practice is just to prepare and to allow love to come in and do the work. And then, of course, there is this part where we soften, we open, and then many of us, including me, get very confused around boundaries in the physical realm. Yeah, it's like, oh, I have to be nice, or I have to live with an open heart, and the truth is that the more we shift our loyalty to the outer voices that have told us what we should be, to our own awakening and integration and wholeness, which includes like a lot of parts of ourselves, needy parts, angry parts, depressed parts, all of these parts are allowed to be part of the family. Then we shift our loyalty to finally say, hey, I'm going to take care of all of me. I'm going to center all of me. Not as it's a stepping stone into true service in the world. When we begin to actually take responsibility for all parts of ourselves. And that means that we have to learn to set the right boundaries so all of me can be relaxed, can be present. And that's going to be different for me and for you because we have different constitutions in our bodies. So it is to really listen and take seriously ourselves. Yeah, to really at last finally say, I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to make sure that all of me are safe, is all of me is relaxed and soft, so I can allow this love to come through. And that means sometimes to say no to other impulses. To learn to say no is for many of us to break. For me, it was to break a lifelong contract almost. Like I learned it when I was 4, that, oh, my existence has value if I just save everybody around me or if I serve everybody around me. So now in my 50s, it's still sometimes terrifying for me to say no because it is such a break of a contract. But I have the prajna paramita, I have the awareness to recognize it. I have the love, the compassion to hold myself when I get all anxious and, oh my God, I'll destroy everything if just because I said no and chose me. And I have green Tara that says, I got you, I got you, I got you. Yeah. So awareness, compassion, and boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for making it that clear, Chameli. And while you were talking, I can relate to it so much with like being with you in circle, like these gatherings, like weekend long or longer gatherings, really to experience what you just described, in the sense of that being present and being present in just allowing to be who I am, and kind of, you were mentioning 3 goddesses right now, like men, like encouraged by these goddesses, like that are just like energies within us, as you always say, to allow myself to really say, okay, I'm okay even with that angry part of mine and with that hurt part of mine, and then having all these women and having the teachings around to just hold you. So what I'm really like, for all the women who are listening, like what Chameli is saying, really, if you have a chance, go and try it, because it's not words, it's really, you can experience in your body, and it really changed, like it changed so much for me. Yeah, the 3 keys you just mentioned. So you mentioned, like, and I think most people who are listening or going to listen might know that you teach a lot through mythology, like goddess teachings, and I would like, if that's like, I would like to call it like so I call it sometimes the indigenous knowledge, which is like indigenous in the sense of like innate knowledge that is within us, that comes like intuitive, that is collective consciousness, or like all of this together. And this is a personal question where I feel I'm standing right now, and many women, and you have this indigenous, so-called, what I call indigenous knowledge, and you have this so-called scientific knowledge, which I'm also very fond of. I love studies, I love all of this. But how do you translate that kind of inner knowledge in a way, or intuitive knowledge in a way that you can be heard in a world that has this more scientific term, this more scientific language, this more I think you know what I mean by that question, or is it clear what I'm trying to say?
Yes. You know, I come from Norway, and it's a similar culture as Switzerland, and it is, you know, a very heavily emphasis on the intellectual, and it's quite secular also, the culture. And so for example, when I go to Norway, there's not even in the Norwegian language words for a vast spectrum of the experiences that I'm teaching and having in my life. First thing, it is important to remember that spirituality and mythology is another way of speaking about reality. Yeah, it is not like, of course, a lot of religions is a lot of belief system and a lot of structures, but all of the paths that leads us to, you know, to the spiritual web that is permeating all things. And people will call this with different names and have different models of how to get there. For me, when I read the ancient yogis or the mythology from different cultures, I recognize so much of what the scientists are discovering. They will just put it in different words. Yeah, it's just this interconnectedness of all things. Psychology even, you know, that it has been kind of very focused on patterns and thoughts and feelings, but a lot of psychologist models are also now recognizing the self, like that there is some kind of awareness and a bigger self here, and then that's where the spiritual path takes over, and then explore that self as being part of all things. Now, I spent many years trying to translate. You know, for example, I remember I was practicing in the women's circle a lot, and I saw the effect on the women. I could, you know, work with women from all kinds of backgrounds, and if you don't get, you know, if you don't put too much kind of belief systems into the room, most people, through experience, just recognize that, I feel more connected to something that I've been longing for, I didn't have a name for even. And then I saw this whole teaching, for example, around oxytocin and hormones, and that also, I could fit that into what was happening in the room. So I could suddenly see that, everything we are doing in the room is producing this hormone called oxytocin, which reduces stress hormones in the woman's body. And then when we have reduced stress, we have more awareness, we have more choice, we're not in the urgency, we're not in the stress responses. So I find that thrilling, you know, to see that, I could use this language to this group of women, I could use this. And then the older I get, I just realized that, you know, I just realized that there's a part, younger me try to kind of have a seat at the table and try to speak in the way at the big guys with suit was speaking, you know, like I can do that, like I can play the game as good as them, or I can kind of, you know, and it was almost like I owe it to the woman's path to verbalize it in a way that everybody should understand. And then I just realized that this is a waste of my time, because I just really saw that I can create my own table. And I see now, as literally hundreds of thousands, millions of people are coming to the Divine Feminine and to these rooms, and they're just creating their own temple and their own table, their own table. And it's much more interesting to be with people who are, who want to be there and want to understand, instead of trying to convince, you know, people who have a different life path. That's just where I am right now. And in that, I'm allowing myself to get weirder and weirder, and you know, more and more eccentric. Like I love it. Like
Yeah, yeah. This is really, really great to hear. Yeah. So and when you said your younger self, I really, okay, that's where I'm, like, this part of me that really wants to be seen and heard, like by and wants to make myself understood by all these number guys, that this is it, you know. And the moment experience comes in, everybody recognize, like everybody, oh yeah, of course, that's like it. But yeah, that's a good reminder, that just invite those people in that are interested to.
yeah, and some have it as their life path. You know, I have so many women practicing with me who are working in politics or in boardrooms or in big organizations or structured corporations, and it's they're passionate about that, being a bridge and translating. So it's just to be true to yourself, you know, what it is that you're here to do.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah. To me, it is like I'm very impatient by nature. I'm very impatient. So to me, it's like, okay, we need this female leadership. We need these qualities. We need this knowledge in this world right now. And so it's like, come on, let's. And that is sometimes what I feel is giving me this push, like, to frame the question I just framed for you, you know. So yeah.
Maybe it is yours. I think you would be you are, because you have such a clarity in your being, so you could be a very powerful bridge if that's what you're called to, you know. And of course, there's not like the division about the two worlds, like the scientific, is not actually that solid either.
Exactly, that's the thing.
Yeah,
that is exactly the thing. I feel it's like, it's just the two of it, it's so present, and it's like everywhere, like the two things together, and it's just like like I've and this is a my thing. I still have to, like, kind of to defend and to still be in that fighting mode, to defend that what I call indigenous knowledge, that female knowledge, that intuitive knowledge. And I'm sometimes so tired that I have to explain when I say, I just know, you know, I just know. And then, yeah, but why? And but what's the fact? There is no fact and there's no why. I just know, you know. So how do you deal? I guess you know these kind of situations, right?
yes. You know, there is a book I read many years ago. It was written by a professor called Leonard Shlain, and he wrote a book called The Alphabet versus the Goddess. And I actually saw him lecture. He was like this old man with suit. He's passed away now, I think. And he was a scholar in the Goddess. And he wrote a book where he just described just historically how our, you know, before the written word, we were, you know, our spirituality and our knowledge was transmitted through song, to poetry, to dance, to art, to, you know, herbal wisdom. It was like a transmission and a kind of a cultural embodied exchange. And this was how we knew, like we knew time because we could feel the moonlight on our skin. So it was like a sensory biological experience and of also of the spiritual. And in that time, you know, the divine was we had Mother God and Father God, and it was like, you know, very animistic. It was gods everywhere. And then when he suggests that when we begin to create a linear language, we started to use, you know, when we are in this kind of symbolic, like we are in one half of our brain, yeah, that is it's the right side of our brain has that way of relating, you know, it's a relationship consciousness. And then when we started to have a more linear language, we started to use more of our left side of our brain. And in that, all this kind of more intuitive knowledge, it just didn't fit into the linear. You couldn't squeeze it in because there was no way of linearly explain it. And that's where when the goddess was squeezed out, because she was just too multifaceted to fit into a linear written language. And then he speaks about also how you could see this even when the printing press started. I think it was like 1200 or 1400, something around there, in Gutenberg. That was also parallel when this big witch hunting started in Europe, where like, you know, it was like this massacre, genocide on women who held spiritual wisdom. And so he had this whole theory around is literally just how we are using our brain. That and we see our modern culture is very emphasized on this linear thinking. Even on, we think about time, we think of everything in this kind of linear way. And you know, it was like we had 360 degrees knowledge of the world, and then it got squeezed into this little linear path. Yeah, it was like so much of our sense of self and connection to the world just disappeared from our consciousness because we no longer had ways to communicate it with each other.
Yeah, makes total sense. Like puts things into place, like gets it more like, okay, that's more understanding behind why things are as they are right now. Yeah.
So then also like it takes that for the people who have roots in a bigger sense of knowledge and sense of, like you said, that knowing without knowing how and why. You just know. It's a deeper knowing. It's not an intellectual knowing. It takes some, again, that comes also that green Torah. It takes some courage and guarding of it, and actually to be also discerning of who you want to discuss with, because it is tender, it's fragile compared to it's like a bulldozer compared to a living, breathing flower. Yeah, so it's like to be discerning if it's useful to use your energy to defend or discuss. It's okay to walk away. It's also okay to walk away.
Yeah, and to really and like to tend to that part in me that wants to be heard, just myself, to know, yes, it is true. I don't need anyone to confirm that it is true. I just know it. Yeah, I think that's what you also meant with the boundaries. Yeah. Chameli, time is flying, unfortunately. I have I'm really interested, and I hope you want to share. I'm really interested what moves you these days. What matters to you? What is important? What moves you?
Yeah, so I am, I'm just coming out of 2-3 years in the underworld journey. I went through, my son died, I went through a divorce, I went through many losses, which was, you know, the kind of the most intense initiation of my life. And I am kind of up from the underworld, and I am looking around in my life. I am working, I'm doing a lot of boundary work to tend to the new me, to tend to the wisdom that has been retrieved from this journey, and to really create my life in alignment. And for me, that has a lot to do with simplicity and peace and enough spaciousness in my life. So I value and guard that above all. So there's the ruthlessness in the sense of not wanting to. There was a lot of things I was willing to do before, which I'm no longer willing to. I want to. I've been here a few times in my work, in my path, in my career, is in the sense of I want to risk being even more authentic and true to me, and risk and if it succeeds, that's fantastic, and if it doesn't, I'm still in success, in a different kind of success. I'm not out of integrity with myself. So it's exciting for me to be so clear on what I desire. Like, I desire communion with Goddess, and it's to be that, you know, that is really what my life is about. And you know, when you become very, very clear that I desire simplicity, I desire peace, some serenity and beauty in my life, more than anything right now, then it becomes like a spotlight on every choice and I make, every request coming my way, where I can't lie to myself. I can't be out of integrity with myself. So I'm practicing with the Nordic goddess Freya now. You know, I've been studying in India for so many years, and finally, like, I've been studying the Nordic mythology for many years now, just on my own, and I'm just like, I'm not ready to teach it yet. I'm not ready to, which is a paradox because I'm from Norway. It's like my culture. But it was, you know, when I started to teach the tantric goddesses, it was after, you know, decades of study. So yeah. So anyway, I'm very excited to practice with Freya. For me, she's such a there's yeah, she has it's a certain kind of confidence in her, and talk about what we talked about, but like, she's like that kind of, she laughs, she has a joy and a confidence in the mystical arts. She's actually the one teaching the gods about the mystical arts, and but there's something very liberated about her, very free, very kind of sovereign, and very human too, like very earth, very foresty feeling. So I enjoy a lot her energy. Just she challenges me a lot, just in her joy and kind of ha like an exuberance in this kind of so yeah, she's very alive in me.
Yeah, and she came through like it became it, like after that underworld journey. That's now what that she who called you. Yeah.
Wow. It's a
Wow.
kind of a techno bullshit goddess, but with a lot of laughter.
Good. I love the no bullshit goddesses.
Yeah.
And thank you for letting us in and sharing that with us. And I know, by coincidence, I know that there is a Sadhana coming up with Freya, and I also know that there is actually a weekend in Munich where you will be teaching live about Freya. So do you want to share a little bit about that so people can maybe still join?
Yes. So if you want to, yes, if you want to practice with Freya with me, you can go to awakeningwomen.com. That's the English online 21-day that is starting now in April. And then we will have a weekend in Munich. It's also in English with German translation. And that is the very last weekend of May. Yeah. And that is, you can read about it at awakeningwomen.de or awakeningwomen.com.
I'm going to put it in the comments so that I make sure they can find it. But,
Instagram here, we will find, yeah, Awakening Women or my Instagram.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I can really, really, really encourage everyone to just take the chance and sit in turtle with Chameli. I mean, yeah. I'm not gonna fall again into my devotion and love to you, but I just really, really, really recommend it highly. Yeah. All right, beloved Chameli, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, love. Yeah. So good to see your face.
Yeah.
I feel your love. Your heart is so, so big. Thank you.
See you soon. Bye, bye. So, für alle, die noch da sind und das noch hören, ich muss mich erst kurz sammeln nach diesem schönen Gespräch. In den Kommentaren findet ihr den Link, wie ihr mit Chameli in Verbindung treten könnt, wie ihr ihre Arbeit findet. Und ich möchte euch einen kleinen Ausblick geben, was hier noch passiert die nächsten Wochen, Monate. Ich habe wunderbare neue Zusagen für Interviews, unter anderem mit der Angelika Dörne, mit der Anna-Maria Engelsing und mit Ina und Tina von Finanzkonfetti. Also hier wird einiges passieren auf diesem Kanal. Und ich habe eine großartige Neuigkeit, weil endlich, ich habe schon so viel drüber geredet, sind die Daten gefixt für das erste Retreat am Meer in Südspanien am Ende Mai nächsten Jahres, 2024. Und alle, die mich kennen, wissen, dass es mein jahrelanger Traum ist, das endlich zu machen. Und jetzt habe ich den geeigneten Ort gefunden und die Daten. Und ich werde es in den nächsten Tagen hier posten. Also wer möchte, 28.08. bis 5. Mai nächsten Jahres jetzt blockieren. Alle weiteren Infos kommen ganz bald. Vielen Dank fürs Hiersein. Ganz vielen Dank für all die lieben Schwestern, die ich hier wiedererkannt habe. Großartig, dass ihr da seid. Und ganz einen schönen Abend.